Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's Nightly News. On to the headlines. Major escalation in the Middle East, massive Iranian missile response to Zionist attacks, and Algeria calls on the international community to shoulder its responsibilities and to take immediate action. From the UN Security Council, Algeria denounces coordinated Zionist attacks on Iran, warns of growing chaos, and calls for upholding international law. Against all humanitarian principles, the Zionist entity blocks crucial aid on the starving Gazan population and persists in its attacks. And the Makhzen deepens normalization by naming streets and public infrastructure after notorious Zionist criminals. Welcome back. We kick off with this communique from the MFA following the latest events in the Middle East, in which Algeria condemned this Friday the blatant Zionist aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran, calling on the United Nations Security Council to assume its responsibilities by putting an end to the Zionist occupation policies that undermine the security and stability of the region. Algeria denounces and condemns this aggression, which would never have taken place without the impunity and lack of accountability of the aggressor. This act constitutes a flagrant violation of international law and the principles of the United Nations Charter. It is part of the Zionist policy of occupation and colonization, which relies on a supposed guarantee of security to the detriment of the stability of its neighbors, starting with the Palestinian people and all the countries of the region without exception. Algeria wars against the dangers of a total escalation and calls on the international community to fully shoulder its responsibilities. Zionist airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites have sparked international condemnation, with world powers warning of regional escalation. Tehran vows retaliation and accuses the UN of tactic complicity. Nuclear talks set for Sunday in Moscow are now suspended. Menem Afa compiled international reactions to the latest events.
The Zionist entity launched a wave of early morning airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites in Natanz, Tehran and other cities, killing dozens, including children, nuclear scientists and senior Revolutionary Guard officials, among them the Chief of Staff, General Mohammad Bagheri. Residential buildings and key military facilities were also hit in the surprise assault. The attack sparked swift international condemnation. China denounced the violation of Iranian sovereignty and called for de-escalation. Russia warned of a dangerous regional escalation, echoed by India, the UK and the African Union, which called the airstrikes a threat to global peace. Washington's response may prove decisive. Donald Trump warned the US would defend the Zionist entity if Iran retaliates, saying Iran must never have a nuclear weapon. We still hope to return to negotiations. The strikes come just days before planned nuclear talks. Iran accused the UN nuclear watchdog of silent complicity and vowed a strong response, declaring its right to retaliate. After this wave of Zionist strikes, command centers went on high alert as the country scrambled to respond. The Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei warned that the Zionist entity has opened the gates of hell, while the Iranian president promised a swift and painful response. Within hours, Iran launched 10 drones toward the Zionist-held territory. Sirens sounded across the south, and countries like Jordan and Iraq closed their airspace. The region is now on its highest alert since the Gulf War. On the other hand, global markets reacted sharply. Oil prices jumped 9%, stocks plunged in Asia and Europe, and investors rushed to gold and dollars. Meanwhile, analysts warn the crisis is edging dangerously close to a full-scale regional war.
In the same context, the United Nations Security Council held an emergency session on the development in the Middle East. In his speech, Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador Benjama, indicated that Algeria has always warned against the growing danger of conflict in the Middle East, fueled by a cycle of illegal Zionist actions and provocations.
Outset of the mandate of Algeria on this council, we have consistently warned against the growing danger of a broad regional conflagration fueled by a spiral of illegal acts and multiple provocation of Israel. The events of today sadly confirm the validity of those warnings. We are now faced again with the serious and deliberate act of aggression. The Israeli army have launched coordinated strikes on the territory of Iran, targeting both military and civilian infrastructure. These actions are not only unprovoked and unjustifiable, they constitute a flagrant violation of international law, a violation of the Charter of the United Nations.
As Gaza endures bombardment and blockade, conditions are spiraling into a catastrophe. As international pressure mounts and protests spread across the globe, NGOs warn that the deliberate obstruction of basic rights amounts to collective punishment, a clear breach of international law. Melissa Lila Balaman takes stock of the situation.
Gaza is being strangled by a man-made humanitarian crisis. Despite mounting international pressure, humanitarian aid remains blocked at Gaza's borders. The Zionist military-enforced siege continues to cut off food, water, fuel and medicine, essential lifelines for over 2 million Palestinians. The deliberate obstruction of aid has pushed the population into a void of suffering, with no relief in sight. NGOs have denounced the blockade as a violation of international law. Their warnings echo a global wave of outrage as protests across continents call for an immediate ceasefire, the opening of humanitarian corridors, and the protection of civilians under siege. Inside Gaza, the situation is catastrophic. Families are enduring life without their most basic rights. Hospitals are collapsing under relentless pressure, with shortages of supplies, staff, and electricity. Meanwhile, airstrikes continue to rain down, compounding the devastation. The UN General Assembly has passed a resolution urging the Zionist occupation to lift the blockade and open all border crossings for the delivery of humanitarian aid. Many have come to the realization that the denial of relief is not a consequence of war, but a calculated strategy to wear down and break a population already crippled by blockade and relentless airstrikes.
In the Sahrawi file, the African National Congress expressed its dismay at the misinformation recently published in an article falsely claiming that South Africa might change its position on the Saharan issue, considering this claim to be nothing more than a desperate attempt by a monarchy seeking to whitewash the last colonial occupation in Africa. It also emphasizes that South Africa's support for the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic and the Polisario Front is unwavering, that it is a principled and historic position, not merely a circumstantial political stance. Rather, it is an expression of solidarity derived from the struggles of the peoples of Angola and South Africa, Palestine and Cuba. The ANC strongly rejected the false claim that Morocco trained President Nelson Mandela for the Ummo Junta Wissozi, considering these allegations an insult to Mandela's memory and a distortion of history. He emphasized that Mandela was trained by the Algerian Liberation Front, a brotherly liberation movement that hosted ANC leaders through genuine international solidarity. Morocco had no logistical or training presence in the contacts and did not support nor train the movement. In a controversial move, Morocco's regime has named streets and public sites after Zionist figures accused of war crimes. The decision is seen as a blatant push toward normalization with the Zionist entity, drawing sharp criticism for ignoring the Moroccan people's pro-Palestinian stance and national identity. Manan Maafa once again.
Morocco's National Institute of Arts, named after the Palestinian martyr Mohammed Jamal al-Durra, is said to be renamed after a Zionist artist. The move, part of a wider state-backed effort to normalize ties with the Zionist entity, has sparked outrage and is seen as a betrayal of Palestinian solidarity.
نرفض أن نضع أيدينا في يد أو حتى أن تقع أرجل هؤلاء الفسدة، هؤلاء المجرمون.
كيف ياخذوا في أراضينا في الرشيدية؟
Gabriel Bannon, a former colonel in the Zionist army and ex-deputy director in its air force, has reportedly been residing in Morocco for years under the guise of a journalist. Amid growing repression, forced displacement and institutional corruption, Moroccans are left feeling betrayed day after day. Each morning brings a new blow, now marked by deliberate attempts to erase their identity and sense of belonging.
إسرائيلي مردخاي دخل بدا الأرض ب70 درهم، ها اللي دوزوا ليه الأرض، هاد العصابة هذه عصابة إجرامية، درنا بها الشكايات، كانوا كيقول لك حنا النفوذ، حنا واصلين.
With its doors wide open to Zionist interests, the Moroccan regime has moved beyond normalization, fully embracing Zionism and repeatedly betraying its own people.
احنا باغيين دارنا نبقاو فيها ونعقب كله الديور ديالهم يبقاو فيهم.
From normalization to Zionization, the Moroccan regime is sharing its Arab Islamic identity, replacing it with a Zionist-aligned agenda, disregarding the consequences of its calculated shift.
In Geneva, and on the sidelines of the 113th International Conference on Labor, the president of the Economic Renewal Council, Canal, met with the general director of the World Labour Organization. The role of Algerian employees in the economic development and reinforcing the social front was evoked during the discussions. In the same setting, Moula hailed the quality of the report of the head of the organization, his initiative and support to improve the status of the Palestinian state within the International Labour Organization. For his part, the head of the organization commended the efforts of CREA and its practical initiatives, which were successfully implemented to promote social dialogue, encouraging the continuation of these efforts for a sustainable social climate. And with the 2025 baccalaureate exam fastly approaching, education authorities across Algeria are ramping up preparations backed by a new digital system and full administrative mobilization. Officials aim to ensure a smooth, secure exam session for hundreds of thousands of candidates nationwide. Melissa Lila Balaman.
With just 2 days to go before the baccalaureate exams, education officials are working at full speed. Administrative teams are finalizing candidate and staff lists, and this year they're supported by a major upgrade, a digital database that automates the entire process.
We have set up dedicated units to digitize the supervisors' summonses. Whether they are teachers or monitors, they can now download them directly from the school director's account. Digital tools have made it much easier and faster to register both students and staff for the 2025 baccalaureate session.
All available human and material resources are being mobilized to ensure the exams run smoothly. Technical and logistical support has also been reinforced to make sure everything is in place for this national milestone. This year, 6,260 students will sit for the baccalaureate across 28 exam centers in the province. More than 2,000 staff members will be involved in supervising these sessions, making sure everything goes smoothly and giving students the best possible conditions to succeed. The aim behind this broad mobilization is clear: to offer every candidate a calm, focused environment, one that allows them to face this crucial step with confidence.
Best of luck to all the students. Thank you for watching. Good night.